Good morning, fourth grade. We're going to continue reading in our novel, Homer P. Fig. But before we get started, we have a quick write. It says, what has been the most interesting part of Homer's journey so far? Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the focus question. Today we want to know, although Homer has had many experiences, what has remained the same about his character throughout the story? Our vocabulary words for today are ferry, and that is a boat that takes goods or people a short distance, maybe across a river. So this is an example of a ferry. Draw a line to this picture. The second word is caravan, and that's when a group of people travel together. Usually there are several wagons or cars that follow each other. So this is an example of a caravan. And the last one is remarkable. That's something that is striking or like worthy of attention. So if you saw this car through a tree as you're driving down the road, you might exclaim, wow, that's remarkable. Turn the page. We're going to be reading chapter 22 and 23 today. And as we are reading for the first time, we're going to use our CSPS strategy. Alright, so let's get started. Professor Fleabottom lets me ride next to him, high up in the driver's seat as the horses plod through the crowded streets headed for the ferry terminal. Never have I seen so many people in one place, all trying to get somewhere at the same time. Folks of all colors, white and black mixed, and a bunch that looked like the Chinese Indians, and others I'd never seen before. Men in fine suits and tall hats, ladies with parasols and gloves, and men with rags, and poor, hunched-up old women begging as they shuffle along, all in a hurry. Makes me feel a little out of breath to think that if one more human being sets foot at the end of Manhattan Island, it may tip over like a dinner plate and slip into the sea. So we'll stop right there because we have the setting of our story. So we're going to do box 2 first. And in our setting, Homer is overwhelmed by how many people live in Manhattan. Homer is overwhelmed by how many people that live in Manhattan. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 2B. And for the quote, we can write down this quote in the middle of page 117. Makes me feel a little out of breath to think that if one more human being sets foot at the end of Manhattan Island, it may tip over like a dinner plate and slip into the sea. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading. We're at the bottom of page 117. Professor Fleabottom says there's more people in this city than the entire state of Maine, all jammed together with 100,000 horses and more goats, dogs, cats, turn the page, cows and chickens can be counted, all breathing the same smoky air and drinking the same water. The horses, he says, are a special kind of problem. Multiply 100,000 horses by 20 pounds of manure each day per horse. What do you get? A big stink? On the nose, he says, delighted. 2,000 tons of odoriferous delight, all of which makes me long for the fragrance of New Jersey. What does New Jersey sound like? Smell like? Grass and dirt, mostly once we get past the swampy part, but first we must come across the river. Every now and then he looks behind as if worried about being followed. I check too, but there are so many people there's no way to know who might be following us or who might just be going in the same direction. Wagons scrape by heading the opposite way, and the big men driving the wagons crack their whips and shout abuse and make rude gestures. Professor Fleabottom smiles and waves and tells Minerva to stay out of sight inside the wagon in case her tattoos might stop traffic altogether. Just drive, Fenton. I can take care of myself, as well as you know, she said, looking around. Seems like even though she made fun of him for mentioning spies, she's keeping an eye out too. So we'll stop right there because we have information about our characters. In box 1A, we would write, Homer is riding with Professor Fleabottom and his crew on a crowded street on their way to the ferry. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for your quote. And we can write down this quote at the top of page 117 that says, Professor Fleabottom lets me ride next to him, high up in the driver's seat, as the horses plod through the crowded streets headed for the ferry terminal. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep reading at the bottom of page 118. As for me, I'm straining to catch a glimpse of the men driving the last two wagons of our little caravan. From what I can see as we jounce over the cobblestones, they both look pretty normal, just regular men with beards and floppy hats that hide their eyes. Sit down and quit messing around, Professor Fleabottom says. You'll scare the horses. Who's in those wagons? I want to know. Or what's in those wagons? I want to know. The way Fleabottom and Minerva are acting, there might be something hidden in the wagon, something way more exciting than a boy who pretends to be a pig. Ah, Fleabottom says, his eyes glisten with humor. You guessed, did you? I guess there was something, but I don't know what exactly. Patience, young man, you will know all our secrets by this evening, but not until then. No matter how much I beg, he won't tell me the secret in the wagons, and finally I decide to shut up and bide my chance. The ferry terminal is near as crowded as the streets, with the mob waiting impatiently to get across the Hudson River. Some are on foot, others on carriages and wagons. The ferries leave on the quarter hour, regular as clockwork. They have flat decks so you can drive straight ahead, and big steam-driven paddles on either side. At the sound of the steam whistle, the gates open and a man shouts, "All aboard!" All right, so we don't have a problem yet. Our author is basically just keeps describing the scenes to us. Turn the page. 10 minutes later, wagons and horses and all, we're bound for Jersey City. That means they are crossing the river on the ferry in their wagon. The river is thick with ferry boats and steamships and sailboats of every size. Looks like the whole world is on the move, crossing the water. Behind us, the island of Manhattan starts to fade away till it looks like it's made of fog and sticks. The puffs of gray smoke tooting out the ferry boat smokestack reminds me of Uncle Squint's clay pipe. Makes him wonder if he misses us. Most likely he misses all the work we did. Strange as it may seem, I sort of miss the farm. The barn, that was our home, and Bob the horse, and Bess and Floss the milk cows. Can't say I miss Squint himself in particular, no surprise there. The real surprise is waiting on the dock in New Jersey, standing tall in his new blue uniform. My brother Harold, big as life. So we'll stop right there. We do have a problem in the story around page 19 where it's a very small problem, so you probably missed it, where Harold wonders, what is in the wagons, and Professor Fleabottom won't tell him. And so that makes Homer a little suspicious. So in box 3A, we will write, Homer is curious about what is in the other wagons, but Professor Fleabottom will not tell him. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for a quote. And one quote you can write down is in the middle of page 119, where it says, "What's in those wagons? I want to know." You can write that down, or you can write down what Professor Fleabottom tells Homer when he says, "Patience, young man, you will know all of our secrets by this evening, but not until then." Press pause to write down the quotes and play when you're ready for the solution. Okay, and we don't know, Homer doesn't know their secrets yet, but he does feel like he finds the solution to his bigger problem, which is finding his brother Harold. And Homer sees Harold on the dock in New Jersey. So in box 4A, we would say, at the end of the chapter, Homer sees Harold standing on the dock in New Jersey. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for 4B. And we would write down this quote that says, The real surprise is waiting on the dock in New Jersey, standing tall in his new blue uniform, my brother Harold, big as life. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. How has Homer remained the same throughout the story? So think about what Homer wants. Think about his big journey. What has remained the same throughout the whole novel?